Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Cooking with Suzanne. Today we're going to make a Southern classic dish, shrimp and grits. I know that there are many recipes out there, and actually there's only two ingredients that you really need to make shrimp and grits, and that is nice, sweet, fresh shrimp and grits. The first thing we want to get started on is our grits. Grits, which is just stone ground corn. And the grits take a good hour to an hour and 15 minutes to cook. So the first thing I did was I want to get some flavoring in there. So I took a half of a medium onion, I diced it, and I sauteed it in a little bit of butter, which I have right here on the stove. And I sauteed it for about 5 minutes, just so that it's nice and translucent, as you can see, and it's starting to cook. There you go. And to that, I want to add a pork product with it. And I'm going to add a little bit of Andouille sausage, which is very popular in the South. So this is just, you can use around 2 to 3 ounces of the Andouille sausage. We're going to add this to our onions. And just give that a little stir and cook that for a couple of minutes. Turn the heat up a little bit, and we'll talk about the rest of the ingredients. I have here a half a cup of stone ground grits. They're yellow grits. You can also get white. And 1 cup of chicken stock and 1 cup of whole milk. You can use all chicken stock if you prefer. The milk just gives it a little more richness. So once this gets going, I'm going to add our milk and chicken stock, bring it to a boil, and then just slowly whisk this in. It's the same way as if you were making polenta. Same exact idea. It actually even takes the same amount of time. And bring this to a boil. Let's talk about the ingredients that we're going to cook with. I have in this saute pan back here, and I will put it on medium heat, the other half of the medium onion. So you can utilize the whole onion. So I just took that half and diced it up the same way, and I have it with 1 tablespoon of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, and 1 tablespoon of butter. If you don't want to use butter, just use olive oil. So that has been cooking for about 5 minutes. Also want to get the onions nice and translucent. And to that, we're going to add 1 diced red pepper. You can use yellow, orange, green pepper, whatever you prefer. So I'll throw in our red pepper. And this is a good time to season the onion and the peppers with just a little bit of kosher salt. And we'll cook this for about 5 minutes. Our milk is coming to a boil, so I'm just going to use a whisk and whisk in our grits into the milk. Bring it back to a boil, and then you want to lower the heat to just a simmer. And you do want to stir it often, just exactly like you would polenta. Put it on low, and we will just stir this every once in a while. I'll season the onions and peppers with a little kosher salt. And take a look back here. You can take a look at our beautiful grits. You see how it's cooking? Very nice soft bubbles. That's what you're looking for. So there's our andouille sausage, our grits, and our onion. There, you can see it now. So we'll let that cook for about an hour. And in the meantime, I'll just set a timer just so that we don't forget about it. Timers are great. When we had our restaurant, Suzanne Fine Regional Cuisine, I really liked my timers. Even though you do cook with all of your senses, it's really nice to have a timer to back you up too. So I have 2 cloves of garlic here that I am going to add to the onions and peppers in a couple of minutes. So now I can add my 2 cloves of garlic, finely minced. You want to cook that for about a minute. And to that, I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup of chicken stock. You could have also made a shellfish stock with your shrimp shells if you wanted to. But here we're just going to use 1/4 of a cup of chicken stock. You want to add this. And I'm also going to put in about 4 sprigs of fresh thyme. And I just took off the stems. I took the thyme off the stems and chopped it a little bit. And now we'll add it to our onions and peppers. And we'll let that cook until most of the liquid has evaporated. Another ingredient that we're going to add to this is some nice fresh spinach. If you have kale, kale would also be wonderful here. This is just about 6 ounces, a 6-ounce bag of baby spinach. 6 to 8 ounces of kale or spinach is perfect. And I have a tablespoon of olive oil in here, and I wanted to flavor the olive oil. You just want to put a clove of garlic on low and let that cook until it looks like that, which is a nice golden brown, and remove it. We're not going to eat this, but all the flavor of the garlic is now in the olive oil. And this pan is ready for us to saute our spinach, which we will add to the onions and peppers. Okay. And one other ingredient that's going to go into this dish are beautiful sweet cherry tomatoes, 1 basket, 1 little pint basket, and I cut them in half, and a bunch of scallions. If they are nice and large like this, which this time of the year they can tend to be beautiful like this, 4 to 5 is enough. But if they're super tiny, sometimes you'll get a bunch of scallions and they're super tiny, then slice the entire bunch. And these are just sliced on the bias. And that is it to our dish.
That would be the diagonal, correct?
On the diagonal.
On the diagonal.
That is correct.
There it is.
We are going to saute those separately and then add it to our onions and peppers in a few minutes. So here you can see they're beautifully cooked, very aromatic, and I will switch pans here and we'll cook our spinach while we have Bob here at the stove, which is
Okay.
lovely.
Yeah.
And let's just take a look at our grits. If it does start to stick on the bottom, you just use your wooden spoon and just
Is it
give it no, it's
No.
lovely, but you want to give it, well, right there it was. So you want to give it a good scrape. You want to get it off the pan again and back into all of the grits. See, now it's nice and clean and it's cooking beautifully. Okay, now let's go to our spinach. So I have my olive oil, it's heated up, and I have my bowl of spinach right here. And as I mentioned in the last class, this salmon class, you need to season your spinach right away. So once this pan is nice and hot, let's move that aside and get this on high. And you just look for a nice sheen at the bottom, just enough olive oil to cook your spinach. Now we can throw our spinach right in, all 6 ounces all at once. And
That's one thing
season
that you
it.
can overcrowd the pan on, huh?
Yes, this is definitely one thing you can go ahead and overcrowd the pan on. And just take a little bit of kosher salt and season it right away. And this does not take long to cook at all. And what I have here in front of me is a tray lined with some paper towel. And once it comes off the stove, I'm going to put it right there. So it will There'll be some water, that will come off of the spinach, and you want to get rid of that. So if you line it with paper towel, that takes care of it. So here's our beautiful spinach. And if you actually take your spinach and put it in the refrigerator, it'll help to keep that nice bright green color. You want to chill it down quickly. Talk about the grits for 1 second here. I still have them on low, and I just want to mention that it is really good to have a container with about a cup of warm water, because you are going to need to add water a little bit at a time during that 1 hour process. Now we're going to move on to our scallions and tomatoes. I have a pan heated up here, and I'm going to cook these with butter. Once again, this is more of a butter-laden dish than it is an olive oil dish. If you prefer to use olive oil, however, by all means, go ahead and use it. So put about a tablespoon of butter into my saute pan, melt the butter, and I'll saute the scallions for about a minute. Add our scallions. Give it a nice little stir. Our scallions are doing beautifully. I will put a little pinch of kosher salt to our scallions. And now I can put my beautiful tomatoes. These are cherry tomatoes, not grape tomatoes. I find that the cherry tomatoes, at least from the supermarket anyways, seem to be sweeter and have a lot more flavor to them. Season your cherry tomatoes with a little bit of kosher salt and pepper. As you can see, all of this happens in stages, but the outcome is really quite beautiful. That will only take a minute, and I'll shut that off, and then we will sear our beautiful shrimp. These are 16 to 20s. You would need to feed 4 people. This recipe would definitely be for 4 people. You would need a pound of large shrimp, 16 to 20s. And I left the tails on because I think it'll be nice and easy to eat that way. And here are our beautiful shrimp. All right, these tomatoes are all done. I will just take them and put them on a tray. That's my hour for our grits. So they, I am sure, are getting very close. So once again, I'm going to cook with some butter. And I have my pan on medium heat. I'll put about a tablespoon of butter or so into the saute pan, and then I'll add my shrimp and season them very lightly with a little bit of kosher salt. And now Bob's going to talk to us about some wine.
Yes, I am. And I'm very excited about talking to you about wine. Hello, my name is Bob. I'm the wine director. This dish has wonderfully sweet, fresh shrimp. And it also has this rich, creamy polenta.
No, grits.
It looks like polenta, doesn't it?
Does,
it does. I
and
looked
it does
at it.
cook the
I
same
looked at it. I
exact
said,
way.
"That's polenta."
No, you're right.
But no, I was
Yes.
just testing you,
Okay.
and you passed. You passed. Yeah. So the grits, and so what I chose to do is contrast it with something that is sharp and crisp and just acidic, and in this case, actually a little bit effervescent, which is not a normal product of wine right outside of sparkling wine. This wine happens to be it's a Vinho Verde from Portugal, and it is northeast of Porto, so the northern part of Portugal. Obviously people know of Portugal and port in Portugal, but they make wonderful white wines and red wines, and some of these undiscovered places offer great wines at a great value, right?
Just 1 second.
Yeah.
I have the spinach that I took out of the fridge, and I'm going to add it on low heat with the onions and peppers to heat it up before I throw in our scallions and tomatoes. Okay.
Yeah, so in these wine regions, these undiscovered wine regions, they have varietals that most people have never heard. It's different grapes. And it's just a great, I think, exploration into these regions and these grapes to say, hey, do I like this? So in this area of Vinho Verde, they produce Vinho Verde. And the Vinho Verde can be made of, it's mostly whites, and it is, I think, 5 or 6 different grapes. One is Alvarinho. So the other varietal in this wine is Loureiro, which is called the Riesling of Portugal. And so the Alvarinho is the same grape as Alvarinho of Spain. Very crisp, it's light, it's low in alcohol, it's 9.5%, so you can drink a lot of it. And it's great for the summer, but a very refreshing wine. And I picked this blind, and I hope...
Hopefully you can see that. They're all done. That's how quick they take.
I hope it's going to come out great. I do think the effervescence is going to pair very nicely with the richness of the grits, and the sweetness of the shrimp, and the crispness is going to go great as well.
All right, so I have my spinach in here with the peppers and onions, and I just want to take a little extra chicken stock because I want just a little bit of broth in there. So about 1/4 cup I'm just going to add to it and turn it up and just bring that to a quick boil. And then I will take our beautiful tomatoes and scallions and add it to this wonderful mixture. I have my shrimp and my grits are all ready to go. And make sure, as I said, you're going to need at least a good 1/2 cup of either water, chicken stock, or milk to add slowly to your grits to get the consistency you're looking for. Some people like it very loose, other people, my grits, I like it more, it's loose, but it's going to set up pretty quickly. As you can see, that's the way I like the grits. So it's up to you, but you can add as much liquid as you need to get to the consistency that you're looking for. This is all set and ready to go. And we can add, you see I just have a little bit of broth, a couple tablespoons, but just enough to add a little broth to the dish. So I will put our tomatoes and our scallions in here. And this is going to go on top of our grits. And a little bit of parsley. I have some nice fresh parsley, couple tablespoons if you have it. It's not 100% necessary. I just love fresh herbs, so I like to add it to most of my food. So I think we are ready to plate. We have our top, have our shrimp. So I'm going to start plating, and
I'm going to continue talking.
Okay.
So a couple of things that I wanted to mention is I talked about the Alvarinho grape from Portugal.
Grits go on the bottom.
And the Alvarinho grape from Spain, and there is a difference between the two. And the difference is how they're made. So the Alvarinho from Portugal that I'm pairing it with, as I mentioned, has the effervescence, and I think that's going to pair really nicely. The Alvarinho production does not have effervescence. It's just a straight wine that is crisp and wonderful. So if you don't like effervescence, you could pick out an Alvarinho from Spain in the southern part. The other thing I wanted to mention was please subscribe, please comment if you like what Suzanne is doing, and a little bit of what I'm doing, but it's mostly her, obviously. Please subscribe. Tell your friends about it. It's all in a good spirit of learning, of educating, of having fun with cooking, having fun with wine. And one thing I think it helps do as well is build some positive momentum. So YouTube is just a conduit to saying, hey, this person knows a little bit about cooking, more than a little bit, and she's willing to share it, and we're going to talk about wine a little bit, and and just spread that on so that more people can enjoy it, if they do like that.
Here we go. So our last that we will set, if you want to do it this way, you can just lie the shrimp right on top, or you can plate it with the tails up, which looks very lovely. And I would say 6 shrimp per person is a nice portion. A little bit of broth, as you can see here. That's why I like to add a little more chicken stock so that we can get a little bit of broth in there. If you like that, then you'll do that as well. Okay.
Beautiful. So, cheers.
Cheers,
Cheers to you
everyone.
guys.
See you next time.
Be well.
Bye.
Mmm.
Delicious.
Very delicious.